Alright guys, so this is going to be your answer key for the practice that you completed today. So follow along, and if you got any wrong on your classwork, you can go back and fix it. So if we take a look at number 1, this is a problem where we have a coefficient, we have this base a, an exponent 2, and we have 3 on the outside of all of that. So we know that when we have an exponent outside the parentheses, we're going to use the power to power rule. So the first thing that we need to do is just make sure that everything inside the parentheses has an exponent. So if we take a look, a squared has the exponent, but this 3 here does not have an exponent. So this is going to be an example where we're going to have to put the 1 on the 3. So again, if there's nothing on the coefficient, we know that the exponent can be 1 if we need it. But then once we do that, we're going to take this 3 and we're going to multiply it by the 2 exponents inside the parentheses. So what that looks like is we're going to do 3 times 2 and 3 times 1 and put them on our 2 bases. So remember, when you're doing this, you can use the equation button and put the equation text box, and then all you have to do is when I type 3, that's my base, and to put the exponent, you click Shift and 6 to raise it. The 3 times 1 becomes 3. To come down, you can hit the space bar or the sidebar. My next base is a, so I type the a, and then 3 times 2 is going to be 6. So that'll be basically what our answer for this, but we can simplify it because we do know 3 cubed. So when I actually go to type that in, I can evaluate 3 cubed, which is going to be 27, and then a to the 6 stays the same. So if you didn't know 3 cubed was 27, that is something you can do your calculator, 3 times 3 times 3, or you can either type into your computer or ask your phone what 3 cubed is. So that will be the answer for the first one. So with the second one here, we have the same thing. There's a 2 here with no exponent, so we know that the exponent can be 1 if we need it. And then we're going to distribute the 4 to both of those exponents here. So when I actually go to type that, my first base is going to be 2. When I do 4 times 1, it's going to be 4 on that 2. Then I keep my base of n, and then 4 times 4 is 16. So again, another example of one that can be simplified because we do have 2 to the 4th. So 2 to the 4th is actually 16 if you do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then we do n to the 16th. So that will be my answer for number 2. So number 3, again, looks very similar to number 1. We are now getting the idea here that if this 3 doesn't have an exponent, I have to put the 1. So usually anytime you have a coefficient, there's not going to be an exponent, and you really have to put it there yourself. And then again, I'm distributing this 4 to both of these exponents. So I know that those are not the nicest arrows, but again, it should remind you a little bit of the distributive property. So if I keep my first base, which is 3, do the 1 times 4, which is 4, and then 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Again, notice how what I did not do is I didn't do just 3 times 4, because 3 times 4 is a lot different than 3 to the 4th, because we know that 3 times 4 is 12. However, when I go to simplify 3 to the 4th, that's multiplying 3 by itself 4 times, it's actually going to be 81. So again, a lot different than multiplying 3 times 4. So that will be our simplified answer for this one. All right, if we take a look at number 4, again, we have a 6 and a b, so I just want to put that 1 here, and the b already has 1. And then again, we're distributing the outside exponent to all of the inside exponents. So when I go to type that, I keep the 6. The 2 times 1 is 2. And then it will be b to the 4th, because 2 times 2 is 4. And then again, this is not going to be 12, because remember we talked about exponents is not the same thing as multiplying. So 6 squared is actually going to be 36, because it's 6 times 6, b to the 4th. All right, so if we take a look at number 5, again, at this point, we should be comfortable putting this 1 here. But if you're not, make sure that on all of them you go back and do that. And then we're multiplying the 2 by both of those exponents inside the parentheses. So we keep the 7. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we keep the y. 2 times 4 is 8. And then, again, just simplify by doing 7 squared. 7 times 7 is 49, y to the 8th. All right, so 6 is a little bit more complicated. It is because now we have two different variables and we have a coefficient. And notice how the b has the exponent of 4, but a doesn't have an exponent and 3 doesn't have an exponent. So in this case, we're going to have to put a 1 on the 3, a 1 on the a, and our distributive of the exponent is actually going to happen 3 times because we'll have to do 4 times 1, 4 times this one, and 4 times 4. So when we do that, because we are multiplying the 4 by all 3 of those exponents, I have to make sure I keep all 3 of those bases the same. So I keep the 3, my first base. 4 times 1 will be to the 4th power. My second base is a. 4 times 1 will be to the 4th power. Keep the b. 4 times 4 is to the 16th power. So a lot of times people make a mistake with this is they forget about this a and they'll just put ab to the 16th and they won't put a to the 4th. But again, we do know that if there's nothing on the exponent that the base, that the exponent is 1. And we also do have to make sure we remember this coefficient here has a 1. So the only thing I can do to simplify here is to do 3 to the 4th, which again is going to still be 81. Keep a to the 4th and keep b to the 16th. Make sure to come down. 81, a to the 4th, b to the 16th. And again, I came down by hitting that space bar. All right, so we take a look here. We have an x and a y, and we also have a coefficient of 2. The x and the y have an exponent, so that's nice, but then we have to make sure we put the 1 on the coefficient. And then again, same thing, because we have 3 different bases, this multiplication does have to happen 3 times for each of the different bases exponents. So when I go to type that, 2 to the 3rd, because 1 times 3 is 3, x to the 12th, 4 times 3, and y to the 12th, because again, that's 4 times 8 again. And then the only simplification I could do is 2 cubed, which is just going to be 8. X to the 12th, y to the 12th. So again, what I'm just doing is I'm simplifying those coefficients at the end, because we can actually put 2 cubed in our calculator and get an answer, where I can't put x to the 12th in my calculator. All right, so this one here, again, just like the one right above it, 3 different bases, but only one of them has an exponent, so I just want to draw that 1 in for both of those. And then I'm distributing this 3 again, 3 different times. So again, if you do these fast, the biggest mistake is people will just kind of forget to distribute to one of the exponents. So make sure that, it is helpful to kind of write these out and draw those arrows so that you remember. So it'll be 5 to the 3rd, because 1 times 3 is 3. M to the 3rd, because 1 times 3 is 3. And then n to the 9th, because 3 times 3 is 9. And I believe 5 to the 3rd is 125. So let me know if it's not, but I did kind of do that in my head. But if you do 5 times 5 times 5, you should get 125. And I'm just rewriting the ones I can't simplify. All right, almost done here. This one here is a nice one because there's no coefficient, so I don't have to put any 1s anywhere. I can just distribute this 2 to both of these, keep my bases. So I write x to the 4th, 2 times 2, and y to the 4th. And there's nothing I could do to simplify that, just because there's no coefficient. So there's, I really can't do anything else with this. This one here is a lot like the one that you see above it. Keep the 1 on the 6, the 1 on the y. There's x already has a 4 exponent, and distribute this to it. These arrows are getting a little messy. So we write 6 to the 2, because 1 times 2. Y squared also, because 1 times 2. And the x had a 4, so 4 times 2 is going to be 8. And again, I know that I can simplify 6 squared to be 36. y squared x to the 8. All right, 11, a lot like the one above it. No need to put any ones because both of those have an exponent and there's no coefficient. So all I'm doing is keeping my base, u. 4 times 2 is 8. V. 3 times 2 is 6. And again, nothing I could do to simplify, so it's a nice one. And then this last one here, the x and the y have 4s, but I know that I have a coefficient. I just have to put a 1 on it. And then again, I'm distributing that 4 into everything, so all 3 of those exponents. So if I keep my first base of 2, 4 times 1 is 4, x to the 16th, because it's 4 times 4, and then y to the 16th. And then we have 4 times 4. And then the only thing we could do to simplify is 2 to the 4th is 16. Notice I just had to go check on that because I can't do that in my head. All right, so again, those are your simplified answers for all of these. If you didn't do so well on the classwork, you can feel free to go ahead and fix it, and just make sure that you make those corrections for the next classwork that we do. But again, the big idea is that we're distributing or multiplying the exponent by all of the exponents inside, and if something doesn't have an exponent inside, we know that we have to put a 1 on it. So if it's a coefficient, or if it's one like 6 where the base just doesn't have an exponent, make sure we put those 1 in to distribute. So feel free to email me if you have any questions.